Intelligence isolates, not because clever people are superior, not because they're antisocial, but because they see patterns others don't, ask questions others won't, think in ways others can't follow, and that creates distance, not intentionally, not maliciously, just inevitably. If you've ever felt alone in a room full of people, this is for you. If you've ever dumbed yourself down to fit in, this is for you. If you've ever wondered why connection feels so exhausting, this is for you. This is Overthinking Department, where intelligence isn't a flex, it's a filter, and we're about to explore why being clever often means being lonely. Clever people don't just think, they analyse. They notice contradictions, inconsistencies, the gaps between what people say and what they mean. And once you see those gaps, you can't unsee them. You're at a party, someone's talking about their dream job, but you notice their body language says otherwise. Their tone says exhaustion. Their eyes say trapped. Everyone else nods along. You're silent because you see the performance. And once you see the performance everywhere, connection becomes complicated. Most conversations operate on surface level agreement. People say things they don't mean, agree with things they don't believe, perform emotions they don't feel. And clever people notice, which makes small talk unbearable, because you're not having a conversation, you're watching a script. How are you? Good. You? Yeah, good. Nobody's good. Everybody knows nobody's good. But we perform good because that's the script. And clever people can't perform the script without feeling fraudulent. So they withdraw. Not because they're superior, because they're tired of pretending, tired of surface level connection, tired of conversations that go nowhere. They crave depth, substance, real conversation. But most people don't operate at that level, not because they can't, because they don't want to. Deep conversation requires vulnerability, self-examination, intellectual honesty. Up. Most people prefer comfort, so clever people end up alone, not by choice, by incompatibility. One particularly clever soul noted, "The more you know, the more you realize you don't know." Intelligence doesn't provide answers. It provides better questions, and questions isolate. Because most people don't want to question. They want to believe. Believe in the system. Believe in the script. Believe that working hard equals success, that relationships equal happiness, that life has a clear path. Clever people can't believe that because they've seen the exceptions, the contradictions, the randomness. And once you stop believing in the script, you stop fitting in with people who still do. Another wise bloke observed, "It is the mark of an educated mind to entertain a thought without accepting it." Clever people do this constantly. They hold multiple perspectives simultaneously, see merit in opposing arguments, understand nuance. But most conversations don't allow for nuance. You're either on this side or that side. You either agree or you're wrong. And clever people are stuck in the middle, saying, "It's more complicated than that," which makes them exhausting to talk to. Not because they're difficult, because they refuse to oversimplify. And oversimplification is how most people connect shared outrage, shared certainty, shared simplicity. Clever people can't do that. So they're alone. Right, deep breath. Stumbre. Clever people are lonely because most people find them too much, too analytical, too questioning, too intense. You overthink everything. You take things too seriously. You can't just enjoy things. Yes, they can. They just enjoy them differently. They enjoy depth, complexity, meaning, not superficiality. But that's exhausting for people who just want to relax. So clever people learn to hide. They dumb themselves down, laugh at jokes they don't find funny, nod along to opinions they don't share, participate in conversations they don't care about. Because if they don't, they're difficult. And nobody wants to be difficult. So they perform, just like everyone else. Except they're aware they're performing, which makes it worse, because now they're lonely and fraudulent. Here's the really uncomfortable bit. Intelligence isn't always an advantage. In school, sure. In work, sometimes. In relationships, rarely. Because relationships require emotional simplicity. I'm upset. Why? I don't know. I just am. Clever people can't do that. They need to understand, analyse, deconstruct, make sense of it. But emotions don't make sense, and trying to make them make sense frustrates people. Stop analysing everything. Just feel it. They are feeling it and thinking about it simultaneously. But most people can't hold both, so they choose, feel or think. Clever people do both, and it isolates them. So, is intelligence a curse? Is loneliness inevitable? Not quite. Here's the reframe. Intelligence doesn't isolate you from everyone. It isolates you from people who aren't compatible. And that's filtering, not punishment. Because here's the secret. There are others like you. People who think deeply, question constantly, refuse to accept things at face value. They're rare, but they exist. And when you find them, the connection is different, not surface level, not performative, not exhausting, real. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to dumb yourself down. You don't have to perform. You can just be, and that's worth the loneliness. Because connection with the wrong people is more isolating than being alone. Clever people aren't lonely because they're broken. They're lonely because they're selective. And selective is survival. Because the alternative, forcing connection with people who don't understand you, isn't connection, it's performance. And you've had enough of that. So, if you're clever and lonely, you're not alone. Ironic, I know. But it's true. Intelligence isolates. That's not your fault. That's just physics. The more you see, the fewer people can see with you. But the ones who can, they're worth waiting for. So stop dimming yourself to fit in. Stop performing simplicity. Stop apologising for thinking you're not too much. You're just unfiltered. And the right people will appreciate that. And now, a question for you. Do you think intelligence makes loneliness inevitable? Or do we just tell ourselves that to feel better? Drop your answer in the comments. CTA, 10 seconds. Subscribe if you've ever been called too much for thinking. Overthinking Department. Where intelligence isn't a problem, open 24/7